Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Annabelle, and welcome to Escape Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural and talk it through in the hope that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week, leave comments on upcoming episodes, and we can escape Supernatural Purgatory together.
That's right. This week, we are on episode 15 of season 2, Tall Tales. Now, this is where having an English accent comes out. Because I'm pretty sure in an American accent it's Tall Tales.
Tall Tales. Yeah, tall tales in it though. In it, love.
Yeah, in it. Oh dear. This is a great episode.
Yeah, I love this one. So it's written by John Shaban and directed by Bradford May. This has a 9.2 out of 10 on IMDb.
Deserving. Absolutely deserving. It's a great episode.
It is. So, a little bit of TV lore for you. So, John Shaban also produced some X-Files as well. And I think he worked on... There's an episode in season 5 where they do this exact thing. I can't remember what the episode's called. It's called Bad Blood. Okay, I got it. And it's a similar thing where they're both kind of telling a story from each other's point of view, and it's really funny. And I just wonder if he just wanted to do that again.
I think so. And I mean, it was a kind of a nice break after last week's episode, which was it was kind of heavy. There were elements in it that, you know, maybe I'll bring up in our sort of wrap up rather than here, that we glossed over, and like obviously because, you know, it's not pleasant subject matter. So to go from that to this is this bit like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of TV shows, if I remember correctly, because this is 2007 now, I think.
Yes.
A lot of TV shows around this time were doing this kind of format where they would have a kind of silly episode in the middle of the season to kind of break the tension, I guess. I know X-Files used to do it. I'm thinking Buffy as well. They used to do it quite a lot. I know Angel did as well. I'm trying to think of other shows. I'm pretty sure like Charmed was around the same time. Yeah. It's not necessarily out of the ordinary for TV shows to do it. I feel like this is kind of the one in Supernatural. There was one in season 1 as well.
Which is in the recap, actually.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like they took this concept and kind of ran with it, where other TV shows kept it to maybe like one episode a season. They always kind of did one, but they really became sort of the standout episodes. Yeah.
They're the episodes that you show to people to get them into the show.
Yes, exactly. I was showing Supernatural to someone who'd never seen it before, and I showed them in this order, which was a wild order to show them in because I kind of went backwards. It was Scooby Natural, then we watched Changing Channels, then we watched The French Mistake. So, okay, maybe the wrong order. But the person said to me afterwards, like, I didn't know Supernatural was like this. And that, like, I thought it was all like dark and grim and about ghosts. And I was like, you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah. So I think these are the ones that you show to people. I would say this also, the humor in this is very, like, I can't help comparing it to, say, like American Pie or
yes,
what other, you know the movies that were around when you were a teenager.
It's not stoner humor, but it's like very much Dude, Where's My Car? Those kinds of things.
I think Dude, Where's My Car is actually my favorite of those genre of movies.
Dude, sweet.
I don't know what it is about, like, I think it's Ashton Kutcher in that movie. I think it's so, I've only just realised that, like, Bill and Ted was such, like, a parody of those movies. Like, I never realised that's kind of what they were parodying before, but it totally is.
It definitely is, yeah. It's amazing.
I don't know how much I want to get into the humour, because there are some moments which, looking at this as an adult, I'm like, this was not appropriate. It's not appropriate now. It wasn't appropriate then. But also, humor was different. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it was different. I think that's the best thing to say on that.
I think, yeah. The annoying thing is that it is still kind of funny. Right? It's not just me.
I think this is it. So it's really weird watching this, like, now, because I'm like, I was raised on this stupid humor. So they make like a dumb joke, and I'm like, ha! And then I'm like, wait, you shouldn't be laughing at that. It's not funny. Like,
yeah.
It's really...
I know. I'm right there with you on that one. Sometimes you can give yourself a pass to laughing at things you probably shouldn't be laughing at, as long as it's not like something that you seek out and like you actively try and sort of do in your day-to-day life. I think it's okay.
I agree with you on that one. I really enjoyed the format of this episode. I kind of forgot that it was like, I knew what was going to happen. I didn't remember how it happened.
Neither did I. And like, I genuinely forgot Bobby was in this episode.
Same.
Like, even in that the last scenes of this episode, I would have thought that would have stuck.
Yeah.
That Bobby was there. No, not at all. And I think this is a turning point for Bobby too.
Absolutely.
Like, we've seen him in 2 episodes so far, and like, you kind of get a little feel for him, and then this one's definitely like, okay, this is who Bobby is.
I agree. I think he really comes into his own here for reasons I will talk about when we get there, as we always say.
Exactly. So I guess we can sort of get into it. We're going to be dancing. I feel like we're going to be dancing around.
We did this last week, and I kind of regret it. Like, yeah, it's really tough because I do know that some people listen to this podcast who have never watched Supernatural. I know we're framed as a rewatch podcast, but there are some people who have never watched it. And I'm like, I don't want to give everything away, but at the same time, we are doing a rewatch.
We are doing a rewatch. I think it was Mark Shepard. So when we had gone to Rogue like years ago, Mark Shepard was like, if you haven't seen the episodes, it's like going down to the pub after you don't want to know who's won the football game.
Yes.
So I have that a little bit in my mind, but at the same time, like, where this particular character goes is such a big reveal, and it's such a reveal that's so far away. And like, I didn't see it coming when it came.
I know.
That I'm like, I don't want to spoil it for the people who haven't seen it.
It's really tough.
So
So for those listening, we will talk about it at the end of the episode. Yes, because there's a little bit I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to listen, I'll put the timestamp in the description.
I think that's fair. Yeah, me too. So you have your major spoiler warning for the end of this episode, because it is very much a major spoiler. And it has the potential to ruin that episode, if you know. So I'd rather like not ruin that for you.
Yeah, I agree. If you're watching this for the first time, you don't want to know this.
So yeah, we'll get into it. Start obviously with the recap, and it's sort of a look back at the times that they've pranked each other, and also the times that they've insulted each other. You know, you have the bitch, the jerk.
It's weak. You're a friggin' jerk. You smell like a toilet. Chicken, jerk, bitch. Shut up, you wuss.
The only thing I noticed in that recap, when Sam pranks with the car radio, what was that song. Music? It was like...
I don't know, but if that wasn't what was playing the first time...
They definitely didn't renew the license on the music because it was something licensed, and this definitely wasn't, and it was also really quiet. So his reaction to jumping at this looked ridiculous because it was some kind of weird, like, soft jazz music.
Yeah, it definitely did not fit. Like, oh dear, but that was. I'm glad you pointed that out because I recognized it, but I was like, kind of move on from that. So I feel like. With the recap, though, I felt like most of it was mostly Dean pranking Sam.
Yeah.
But then they did switch it, but like it felt for a very long time that it was mostly Dean's pranks.
And it was like, is Sam just going to get revenge this episode? Like, is he going to go full demon powers?
Then it flashes to now, and we see an older man, and he's walking in the cold, and he sees a woman in a white sort of white dress, and she's being very provocative intentionally. Like, she's got her foot up on some sort of step thing, and she's fiddling with her shoe for no reason.
Yeah.
And it's this episode is basically all male gaze. This is definitely all male gaze.
It is. I didn't even think of that, but you're so right.
Everything about this episode is male gaze.
Yes.
Because it starts with her, like, revealing ankle to, like, her face and everything.
And it's supposed to be like, it looks like cold out, and she's wearing like a strappy dress, like her shoulders are uncovered, like she would be freezing.
Absolutely. I feel sorry for the actress. I think her name was Emma Lahara. And she's sort of flirting with him, like, saying that she's a student. Well, no, she's not really flirting yet. Yeah, she is. She is flirting a little bit.
Yeah.
And tells him that she's a student and wants to talk about, like, a paper. And he's the guy, the professor's saying, well, I don't usually do this, but yeah, sure, you can come up to my office. Even though it's outside of office hours. You know something's going to happen because he goes to the window and, like, opens the window. Like, why would you open the window when it's so cold?
Yeah, exactly.
And they continue flirting with each other, and she admits that she's not actually his student, and she picks up his book, and it's like Morality Max or something like that. I don't remember.
Like that, yeah.
It was weird. And it's essentially like he's not actually, his morals are kind of not great.
Yeah.
You do see he has a wedding ring on, and then he makes out with this student. And as he's making out with this student, it's wrong even though she's not technically his student. Like, you shouldn't be making out with any kind of student that goes to the school that you're working at. Yeah. Her face sort of starts to decompose. Yeah. I think it's the best way to do it. Like, her eyes,
I like this effect.
It was so gross. Absolutely disgusting. Because, like, usually when they show this kind of effect, it's usually quite quick. Yeah. Or, like, it doesn't linger so much. Or, like, I think of the zombie episode, like, she doesn't look so much like a zombie. You can tell, like, she's, you know, pale and, like, whatever. But this is very much like, oh no, this is flesh falling off her face kind of thing. And it's a nice close-up of this. Yes. Like, the VFX team wanted people to be, like, they wanted their money's worth, basically.
It was good.
And she said something along the lines of, like, don't you want me anymore? And he, like, stumbles back, and it cuts to a janitor closing and locking a door. And then he hears a noise behind him, and the professor's laying out on the steps.
Yeah. So, did he fall or was he pushed? Yeah. So then we get the title card. So that's our setup for the Monster of the Week. And it actually cuts ahead to 1 week later. And there's this hotel. I guess this is a hotel this time, called the King's Lair, which is a great name for a hotel. Yes. And Sam and Dean are in their room. And Sam's kind of doing Sam things. He's, like, researching. There's, like, music blaring. Dean is just, like, eating so loudly.
So, did you catch where this was supposed to be set?
No.
Did it say? Okay, it didn't say it. All right. Yeah, he's, like, eating bacon fries or something.
I have no idea what he was eating. It looked disgusting.
It was greasy and, like, it probably smelled kind of rank.
Yeah. And Sam even says, like, can you not eat that on my bed? Like, he's on Sam's bed too, like, with his, like, greasy chicken fingers or whatever. Yeah.
And so it's like he phrases the question, do you mind not eating that on my bed? And Dean's response is like, no, I don't mind.
You should never ask that. Anyone who has a sibling, you should know not to ask it like that. No. Sam asked him to turn the music down, and of course, look, I was very much vibing with Dean in this episode because, again, being an older sibling, I had to share a room with my younger brother for, like, a really long time before we moved, and we would just wind each other up so much. You love them, but yet you hate them. Like, yes. You just cannot sometimes stand like a sibling. So when he turned the music up rather than down, I'm like, yeah, that is an older brother move.
Yeah, definitely. So I wrote here, like, is Dean still holding a little grudge for what Sam/Meg did in the last episode?
I mean,
Because there's no context yet, so I was like, oh, is he pissed that his younger brother like beat him up?
Maybe. I mean, Sam, they kind of have a back and forth here, and like Sam says, like, oh, research would be going quicker if I had my laptop. And I initially thought that was a reference to the fact his laptop got smashed at the end of season 1. I was like, they're not that good at continuity. They can't be referencing that.
And I'm pretty sure we've seen him on a laptop in this season so far, too.
I'm sad it's not got the stickers anymore.
Yeah. And in true Supernatural fashion, before their, like, argument gets too out of hand, there's an interruption, and there's a knock on the door, and it's Bobby.
Yay, Bobby!
Hey, Bobby. Boys. Hey, Bobby.
Why do you think Bobby's starting to make more of an appearance now?
And maybe the fan reception of him was quite good. I think that must have been part of it. I think he was such a vital part of the last episode as well. And they must have realised how good an actor Jim Beaver is. I mean, they must have known that before they brought him onto Supernatural. Mm-hmm. But I just think he really... The problem is that... I'm going to go into it now. The problem is that Supernatural is quite claustrophobic, I think, sometimes, with just Sam and Dean.
Yes.
They need at least one other person to bounce off of.
Yeah.
And I think they were starting to it must have been like Kripke started to realise that as well, because we know he was reluctant to bring in other hunters and like other characters and stuff, but you can't just have the two of them forever, like, because to only play off each other, they'd just be making the same jokes all the time. I think it's got to be fan reception, and also he kind of fills a gap that was left by John.
Yes, the more experienced hunter of, like, the series. Yeah,
because they wanted Sam and Dean to be, like, inexperienced and learning as they went along. But unfortunately, that means they come against roadblocks quite often that it wouldn't make sense for them to figure out by themselves. So they need to have more experienced people. Yeah.
And like, I guess that Ellen was not enough because she wasn't... They've already established she wasn't a hunter.
Yeah. And also they like men in Supernatural, so I feel like it... Yeah, you know.
I was also going to say, do you think he's also the producer? Because obviously he's named after the producer, so he's like, I want my character. No.
And so as Bobby walks in, like, I noticed that he kind of like moves Dean's like empty food packet and kind of looks around the room, kind of like, you live like this kind of expression.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Bobby's house, for as messy as his house is, it's mess, like, regarding research rather than, like, food.
I feel like Bobby knows exactly where everything is in that house. Like, it's organised chaos. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So Sam explains the case, and like Bobby's kind of asking, why did they call him? And they're saying, like, well, you actually, like, you won't believe us. Which is kind of weird for a hunter to say, because they were saying that to other people, or other people were saying it to them. So Sam explains that there was a professor who fell out of a window, and there was the campus legend that this building was haunted, so it seemed obvious that they would go and have a look. And so they went and they posed as reporters. And then this is where we get our first flashback, but it's not really... Well, no, okay.
I don't know what this story device is called.
No.
Because, like, when you see it, you know what it is. Mm-hmm. But when you try to explain what it actually is, there has to be a word for it. I just didn't look it up. So basically, it's a retelling, but instead of them just being sat in a room, they act it out.
Yeah.
In actual fashion. Like, it's an episode, so of course.
No, it's just Sam sat on the bed for 20 minutes describing the story.
Exactly. No, I was a little dubious at first because I was like, I've said this before, I'm not a huge fan of flashback episodes, but in this format, the way they did this one is what made it so great. I think if they just done it, if they had played it straight, it may have been a bit like, nah.
But it goes back to what you were saying about the usual suspects, because that flashback works because you're seeing it from a different perspective. So flashbacks work when you see them from other characters' perspectives and not just a straight retelling of the story.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, that's how I view flashbacks. Some people like them. That's fine. You can like them, but for me, I like make it interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, actually. So This flashback starts with Sam talking to like a frat guy and a girl, and it turns out that the professor was a professor of ethics and morality, which we could kind of guess from his book. And this girl tells him a story about there was a girl who maybe haunts the building because she was having an affair with the professor, and they broke it off, and so she jumped out the window, and the room that she was in was 669. She's like, get it? When anybody ever references like the devil to Sam, I just find it hilarious.
Yeah.
Then we see Dean. He's at the bar and he's on his third shot.
Like, it's not. He's doing 3 shots in a row, not his third shot. He's got 3 shots in front of him, and he's doing each one. And by the third one, he's like, "Oh."
I mean, yeah. And he says about like purple nurples, and like I know what's in a purple nurple, and like yeah, you would be making that face. Like no,
yeah,
no,
don't do it.
Don't do it. So Sam's kind of like, let's go ask around the bar or whatever. And Dean is like, no, I've met this girl. And he introduces Sam to a girl called Starla.
I got a feisty little wildcat on the hook. I'm about to reel her in. I'll introduce you. Starla, hey. This is my shuttle co-pilot, Major Tom. Starla.
I wasn't expecting a David Bowie reference this episode, but it makes sense, actually.
I was going to say, do you think Dean's a prog rock fan? But absolutely he is.
Absolutely he is. Also, I feel like Bowie just fits well into this episode and generally like a theme.
Yes.
Like, perfectly.
This is also where you can tell it's a male gaze episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way that we're introduced to Starla is what would be Sam looking at her, like, silver shoes and her fishnet tights.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a denim skirt, or at least very short denim shorts. And, like, just very... To me, I was like, is she supposed to be a sex worker?
Mm. Like, initially, yeah, they kind of frame her like that, I feel.
Yeah.
So, she's obviously very drunk as well. I think she actually throws up a little bit. Like, I'm pretty sure. And, yeah, Dean's very just, like, brushing off Sam, making out with Starla. Like... I just Sam's face through all of this is just cringe, absolute cringe.
like, what are you doing with your life, Dean? So Dean interrupts Sam, right, to say like, no, this is not how it goes.
Whoa! Hold on a minute.
What?
Come on, dude. That's not how it happened.
No. So you never drank a purple nurple?
Yeah, maybe that, but I don't say things like feisty little wildcat, and her name wasn't Starla.
This is when it sort of indicated this was Sam absolutely telling his story of like how he interviews and everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is him describing himself.
I wrote the exact same thing down. I was like, these give a very interesting take on how they perceive themselves.
And each other.
Oh my gosh.
Especially with how Dean then like talks his story. And again, so before we get into it, who would you think the more reliable narrator would be? I would always choose Sam.
I would always choose Sam, and I think that's justified here.
Especially with how Dean like actually explains the situation with Starla. Yeah. Because she's a grad student who's just finished her master's degree, and she's actually super classy. And again, we have the same shot of it's her feet, but now she's in like smart black shoes. She's in black stockings and like this very revealing little black dress.
She's a student of
anthropology
and folklore, and I've just been listening to Bridgewater. And I immediately thought of it. I was like,
that's hilarious. So since both of them cannot tell really the correct truth, who do you think Starla actually was? I think she was actually a grad student of anthropology and folklore.
Yeah.
But she was like someone who liked to have fun.
Yeah.
So she would go to the bar, but she was like in a mixture of the two outfits. So she was probably in something quite revealing.
I think Yeah, I think there's some truth in the middle of this. I also think because like Dean describes himself, they're like clinking glasses, and I noticed that like when he describes himself, he like when he's talking, he like slowed down how he talked. It was very like suave and sexy.
You need to tell me about this urban legend, please. Lives are at stake.
It's so not
and
true.
The compliments that like Starla gives him.
My God, you are attractive. Sorry, I can't even concentrate. It's like staring into the sun.
Yeah, imagine. So I during this whole thing, I was like, Dean is sat there on this motel bed, and he told Sam and Bobby that this is how someone described him to them.
Yeah. This girl walked up to me. She said I was like really attractive. She said it was like staring into the sun. Yeah, I know. That's just my face. The worst bit about this. The very worst bit about this.
I'm crying because it's so stupid.
Is I've said the exact same words about Jensen Ackles.
And I've said it about Misha.
I know I said that to you. I was at a convention and I rang you and I said it was so hard to get my autograph. I couldn't look directly at his face because it was like staring into the sun.
You probably got it from this episode, but you didn't remember.
Probably. Oh gosh. Oh, I love this episode. Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh, tears.
So yeah, let's grade it in. Whew, deep breath. So they start like making out, and Sam comes over, and he is for some unknown reason, he is now how a straight man would play a gay man. Right?
Oh, yeah. Why is Sam so camp? I'm just going to say.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. He's absolutely, like, he's got this pursed face, and then he starts talking, and then, you know, Dean turns him to be like, blah, 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 blah.
If you wouldn't mind, just give me 5 minutes here.
Dean, this is a very serious investigation. We don't have time for any of your blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah.
Absolutely, you can't believe a word that Dean says about retelling stories.
Oh no! Oh no! Okay.
So this is going to be like a really big spoiler, but something very important was established, and Amy just explained it. Is going to explain it.
This is where we discover that Dean is an unreliable narrator, which isn't really, like, you wouldn't consider that to be important information. But I'm thinking of a very specific time when that's very important in season 8, when Dean and Cass leave Purgatory, right? Dean remembers that, or tells Sam, or remember, you know, that Cass slipped out of his hands and like didn't make it with him. Whereas actually what happened was Cass pushed him through the portal and stayed there on purpose. And through that whole season, all the stuff in Purgatory is being told from Dean's point of view. And it's established here that he's a very unreliable narrator. I love this show. Oh, this is such a good episode. Okay. I put here, so Sam's doing his blah, 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 blah. He's being an annoying younger brother. That's what it is. You just hear wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
It's like
very much Charlie Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
And then so it cuts back to like present time, and Bobby basically calls out their bickerings, calling them like a old married couple.
You're bickering like an old married couple.
No, see, married couples can get divorced. Me and him, we're like Siamese twins.
It's conjoined twins.
See what I mean?
It's like Sam's being very PC, like he's correcting Dean, which we always kind of knew about Sam. He I feel like he definitely hung around the kind of very liberal crowd at college.
I think so too. We see that even in episode 2, season 1, where he corrects Dean calling Native Americans Indians.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it's establishing Sam's character. So we're kind of seeing that they're really sick of each other. I kind of forgot it had been a week, and then I remembered when they were bickering so much that they'd been doing this for a week, I guess.
Yeah.
I like Bobby here. He kind of seems like an irritated parent. Like, he's very calm with them all the way through these scenes, but you can tell he's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, there's definitely some bits later on, like even after this next scene, that you're just like, oh yeah, this is he's slipped into dad role right here.
Aww, he has.
Just Sam continues doing the retell of the story, and it's just sort of like the crossfade.
Yeah,
and they're talking to the janitor as they go to the professor's office to sort of search for any EMF, because they figured, it's a haunting. So let's go check for all the usual signs of a haunting. Yeah. Again, like, what I kind of love about this, it's not always obvious when Sam is actually telling the story, and then sometimes it is. And there was something about the fact that he has, for the audience watching, you have to see the EMF reader. Yeah. But the way that they kind of bring it in is so strange, because he brings it out when the janitor is still there. Yeah. And then Sam sort of like explanation of like, oh, it's to pick up where like wires are, which it looks kind of similar to what that is, but I feel like the way he says it is kind of like, oh, I'm so knowledgeable. So that's like, is that Sam again describing it, or is it just for like the audience view to be like, okay, they're looking for ghosts in the way that we know? Yeah. But like, because usually they don't bring out their tools in front of people.
No, not often. Yeah, I think this is it, like unreliable narration. I think Sam sometimes have a little bit of a superiority complex. I think it comes through in this episode. He's kind of like, I know best about a little bit of everything. I was the same when I just got out of university. I thought I was it. Like, so
as we all do.
We all do in our 20s. As they're kind of talking to this janitor, the janitor's kind of telling them about the ghost story and how it's not really real. Like, there is no room 669. That didn't actually happen. And as he's kind of telling them about it, the camera cuts to Dean, and his mouth is just full of... I don't even know what it was, but it's
fudge.
Fudge.
It's fudge.
It's in like a fancy little dish.
So the only reason why I know that is at the end of the scene, he like lifts it up, and you can see that it's like it's either fudge or toffee, like, because it's that kind of caramel.
I hope it was fudge, just for Jensen's teeth. Like, I hope it was fudge, because toffee is like sticky.
I think it was toffee, because if you look at how his mouth is like filled with food.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's proper toffee. So, if you've ever seen any supernatural GIF, this is one that you've seen for sure. And I do like how it kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit, because Dean's voice sort of cuts in as it's paused.
Yeah.
Come on, I ate one, maybe two.
Just let me tell it, okay?
Surely it's still a crime scene, because this is a week earlier.
I guess so, yeah. The thing is, like, again, what do you think's true? Because I don't think he gave one or two. I don't know if he picked up the bowl. I can see him circling back round to the desk as they're talking, like, several times, and like picking one up each time. And Sam
I don't think he like stuffed them in his mouth, but that's the way Sam sees it.
Yeah. Again, this is like, I love how they see each other. It's so stupid.
Well, I mean, Dean is always eating. Like, literally at the beginning of this whole part, Dean's in his bed eating food.
Yep.
Stuffing his face with food. And there's a whole bunch of pizza boxes. So, like, yeah.
So the janitor as well kind of explains that, I think he even says, like, Mr. Morality wasn't that moral. Like, he had been seeing other college girls and things before this happened.
So I have to say, I love the janitor facial acting in this entire episode.
Richard Spite.
Yes.
I could talk about him all day. I love his acting so much.
It was great.
He's got such a good face.
He's got such an expressive face. It was. There's other moment, like later on, when it's basically a face-off between him and Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. And so the janitor leaves them alone. Again, it's one of those other supernatural gifts of Dean has now a full face of toffee, and he like smiles, and it's like, ow, my cheeks.
Yeah.
My cheeks and jaw are just like, oh.
It's so gift. Like I forgot it was in this episode because it could have been literally in any episode, and it's like, oh,
this is true.
It's this one.
They've obviously finished at the office, and they come back to the room that they're staying in, and Sam goes to his computer and he opens it up, and it's frozen.
Dude, were you on my computer?
No.
And he says no. He's like, well, it's frozen on the famous supernatural porn site. I gotta say, Dean's oopsie face is pretty great.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm wondering if at some points in this episode, again, this is all speculation because this is not shown in the show, but like, they start to bicker at the end of this. How much is Sam's retelling and them actually then bickering in real life? Because Bobby interrupts that and like stops the tangent.
Oh yeah, that's true. So Sam's still telling the story. You feel like Dean would have a weirder reaction in Sam's retelling of it, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this establishes as a running joke of that porn site, and there's like magazines as well that exist. I wonder why they chose that. It just seems so odd to me.
Yeah. Again, I think it's of the time. I want to say, like, because of the massive anime boom, a lot of that kind of Japanese culture start to really filter in.
Like, leaked into, like, fetishization.
Yeah. So, this is one aspect which I really... Especially because, if you think about it, have we ever seen an Asian woman in the entire supernatural category? In those episodes?
Not up to this point. I just think it's like they're making a joke about like that it's like kind of something weird that he's looking at. I think that's a joke, right? That it's outside the like normal porn almost that you would look at. And I think that's the problem with this. Because can you imagine if this was any other group of people in this like web title or whatever, it wouldn't be acceptable. So like this shouldn't be either. I wish they dropped this. Like I'm really disappointed that they never really dropped this.
I know. They could have taken like an actual fetish. As much as I hate like kink shaming, at least like it's not at the expense of a race of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if I know you have to get it past the sponsors, so I don't know how much they would have been okay with like, I don't know, spanking beauties or something.
That would have been fine. That would have been fine. I feel. You can say spanking on TV.
I would have thought so too. The amount of times that they say dick in this episode.
I know. The morality compass of these networks are so off sometimes of what they allow through and what they don't allow through.
Yeah.
Like
it's like, again, what you were saying, I feel like if it was like busty ebony beauties, that wouldn't have gotten through because it's at the expense of black people.
Yeah.
But
somehow it's okay.
And I mean, it's still okay now. Like it's starting to come into especially, you know, with recent events, it's, you know, there's a light has been shone on it, which is great. I absolutely love that. But I feel like some of this stuff, I mean, I feel like I even saw it in season 14.
Yeah, I feel that
3 years ago.
That's not... Yeah, they should have dropped it. They should have been, like, it's really tone deaf. And, like, they're like, oh, we're just making a reference to, like, way back when. But it's like, yeah, but you could have made a different reference.
Because what was Sam watching? Like, it was Castle Erotica, wasn't it?
Yeah, Castle Erotica. Like, make a reference to that. Like... I think the reference is that Cass goes into a shop and he's trying to buy things that Dean likes. He buys pie and he buys like a copy of the magazine, and but like He could have picked up like a VHS tape from one of those bins of like Casa Erotica that would have been a better reference and would have been a funnier one because of the character that's in Casa Erotica. Look, it's not that hard to make non-offensive references to say.
Exactly. Just use a real life kink that's tame enough to be possibly considered weird.
They could have literally just had like this has a
they
word
could have
busty
dropped the
in it.
Asian.
Yeah, this has a word. Exactly, it could have just been busty beauties. Yeah. So they fight about this, and you're right. Bobby interrupts them and says, like, well, did you actually, do any work? Essentially, is what he's saying.
Yes. Did you do your homework?
Yeah.
It's due on Monday. Have you done it? But they find that there was no evidence of the suicide, basically, or haunting of the school. So everything that the co-ed had told Sam in that interview is not lining up.
No.
It's sort of Bobby's like, so, what else happened, basically. And Dean sort of takes over, but does he take over the retelling? I didn't actually make note of who would be telling this next part. I think it's Dean.
I think it's Dean too, just because of what happens.
Yeah, me too. So Dean takes over and sort of tells them, like, okay, so this is the next bit, which we think's like super strict, like, is also very strange and sort of leaning into like why we called you. And we see the frat boy that was there at the bar with the other girl, and he's walking alone. He's hearing a noise. He's looking over his shoulder, but nothing's there. And eventually, he gets abducted in this like ball of light.
So, I love this scene of him getting abducted because I swear to you, you can probably find those shots like shot for shot in the X-Files. Like the way that it's kind of like the camera overhead, the light. There's just something about it. It's so perfectly X-Files. Again, like John Shaban. Yes.
Aliens?
Yeah.
Aliens?
Yeah.
Look, even if they are real, they're sure as hell not coming to Earth and swiping people.
Hey, believe me, we know.
My whole life, I've never found evidence of an honest-to-God abduction. It's all just cranks and pranks.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
The thing that got me here was that the Bobby's talking about aliens, like Dean was talking about angels in Houses of the Holy. Like, well, I've never seen any.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we've heard some stories, but
so I wrote here. So vampires, shapeshifter, demons can exist, but not aliens.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bobby gave the same kind of explanation as a lot of other people who are like deniers of abduction, of like aliens can go anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe, and they chose Earth. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's totally true. I don't believe in alien abduction. I do believe in aliens. I don't think aliens have ever come to Earth, but there must be aliens somewhere.
And
so,
like,
just
no, I agree. No, I'm totally in that mindset too. I don't think the human race is interesting enough for a civilization that's able to travel through space.
No, I think we're still too primitive. We haven't reached peak Star Trek yet.
Exactly.
So why would anybody care? Because I don't.
Exactly. And so I was thinking about this again, like with the whole like X-Files thing. A lot of the stuff that would have happened in X-Files could probably be explained away. Like an alien abduction could probably be explained away by something supernatural, which is exactly what this episode is.
Yes.
So of course that's why aliens wouldn't exist in this universe, because they could be a supernatural being rather than an alien.
Yes, I see. I get what you're putting down. Yeah, you're totally right. Oh God, why did they never do an X-Files supernatural, like not even a crossover? But I wanted them to like meet some people that kind of looked like Mulder and Scully. Just kind of looked like them.
Like one of those like super cheesy sort of pan away where like I know we've spoken about this, how like a conversation that's happening between main characters is not heard by anybody else. But these two agents hear them and like turn around and look at them, and they kind of look like Mulder and Scully.
Totally could have done that in like a diner. You know, literally had them like, sat at the booth. Oh, that would have been so good. They should have had me on to write the show.
You know what? We should write our own Supernatural episode.
Yeah, let's do it. It'd just be a mess, but I want
it. It would be an absolute mess. We'll just put a bunch of our scene ideas and shove them together.
Yeah, just one big mush. So they go talk to this guy who got abducted by aliens. I think he's drinking at the same bar they were at in the other college scene. It looks the same. Dean's kind of making a joke about his experience, and the guy kind of agrees though to tell them what happened off the record because he still thinks they're reporters. And so he says that he was obviously abducted by aliens and that they probed him like multiple times. And like Sam and Dean kind of share a look with each other. Like, again, this is from Dean's retelling. So like...
Which makes sense for Sam's expressions in this. Because I feel like Sam's usually pretty good at like tapping down his like need to laugh. Mm-hmm. But in this whole scene, like he is on the verge of like bursting out laughing.
Yeah, exactly, because he's kind of following along with Dean.
What's kind of absolutely terrible about the way they treated that scene, they're laughing at a man getting assaulted.
Yeah.
Yes, it's by aliens, but that's still like not actually something you should really be laughing at.
I think the problem is like it comes back to the same thing we were saying about the jokes about like the porn website. Is like if this scene was with a woman, it would not be funny. They wouldn't be laughing at it.
No.
And it's really unfair how men get treated in this way. And I still feel like that hasn't caught up in like modern times. I think almost need kind of a similar sort of social awareness to it that they've had with women and those kinds of jokes and how that subject matter is handled in TV. I don't feel like men have had that moment of like realization in media that this is not okay to be treated in this way. That makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
At the end, he says that the alien made him slow dance, and it cuts to one of the wildest scenes in Supernatural. Like, if you showed that to somebody just on its own, how do you explain this show? Like, how do you explain it?
I don't. Supernatural out of context.
Exactly. Well, apparently the actor in the alien suit is the girl who played Tyler in Playthings.
Really?
Yeah.
The song he chose for them to like dance to is Krista Berg, Lady in Red.
Yeah.
Which is like super sappy.
But it also kind of makes sense with the character who's doing that song, I feel.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Bobby kind of interrupts him again and says, like, you guys are exaggerating. And then it cuts to them, like, looking at, like, a jet burn on some of the college grass. So you can kind of see that this happened.
So, yeah, this is still Dean retelling it because of what happens next. So they go to talk to Curtis, which is the guy, his roommate. Sam just goes up and hugs him. And he's like, if you want to talk about it, I'm here for you. And it's like full on like smushing this guy. And it's just like, guys probably have average height. But again, I don't know if they do this on purpose or not. Because there is such a huge height difference between him and Jared. It's like, oh my god.
It's so good.
And they are like fully body contact. Like not like an awkward man hug, but this is like full on embrace of a stranger.
I love it.
Come here. Too precious for this world.
I have to say, these episodes really make me think that really Jared excels at the comedic acting. Very good at it.
He is.
I think it's like he's got really good like physical comedy and like his facial. He's really good at this, and I always remember like Sam in these like funny episodes because I think he just enjoys it more than which is fair because it is fun.
Which is it's kind of a shame because I don't think Jared has ever really played in a comedy.
I don't think I've ever seen him in anything like that. They really should cast him in like a buddy cop movie. I think he'd be good.
I think he'd be good too. Like, I feel like I haven't seen Walker, but I feel like that's all very serious.
Yeah, I think
just
so
because
too.
of the subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you just go on his like Instagram and we'll see like sort of things from cons.
Yeah,
He's hilarious at
it's
them.
funny. Yeah,
He's actually like, he has really good comedic timing.
Mm-hmm. So
with the right people.
Exactly. He definitely should have been cast in a comedy at some point. I thought about this when I watched this episode, because I was like, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him in anything either. People are going to correct me now and be like, no, he was in this, and this. Or
yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, I mean, again, talking about gift moments, this episode must have so many, because the, like, you're too precious for this world. I've seen it so many times. I kind of want it on a t-shirt that says, I'm too precious for this world. But I love it. Yeah, the squishy hug. Again, it cuts to Sam and he's like, I never said that. And Dean says, you're always saying pansy stuff like that. Again, like the use of the word pansy and like the fact that Sam's played so over emotional and camp in these storytellings of Dean. Like, how, is this really like how he sees Sam, and like what is that even saying?
So we find out that Curtis was the fraternity pledge master, and he was an asshole.
Mm-hmm. So we're kind of seeing some, I guess, karmic retribution. Although it's quite, what's the word? Like twisted karmic retribution.
Yeah. So again, they come back to the apartment. It's kind of like it's kind of like an apartment because it's like a whole kitchen, but it's also a hotel. It's a long stay hotel, I guess.
Yeah. And
Sam's laptop is missing. We find out from the beginning of the episode why Sam is researching via books instead of his usual like laptop.
Yeah. And
again, you can also tell that this is Dean's retelling because he says punishments are poetic, and then he corrects himself. He says actually they're more like a limerick.
I didn't notice that line. Yeah.
So he's making himself smarter.
Making himself smarter and funnier, like in his retelling. Yeah.
And he sort of says that while Sam's kind of like bitching at him about his computer.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you know something? I put up with a lot from you.
What you talking about? I'm a joy to be around.
Yeah? Your dirty socks in the sink? Your food in the fridge?
What's wrong with my food?
It's not food anymore, Dean. It's Darwinism.
I like it.
And you know what? All I ask from you, the one thing, is that you don't mess with my stuff.
And he references his food, and Sam's response is like, that's not food anymore, that's Darwinism.
I love that line. I love it so much. Can someone put that on their, like, if you're living in a shared house and you've seen some moldy beans, that needs to go on a post-it note on the beans. Okay, please. For us. And then take a picture, send it to me. I would like that. Thank you.
Yes. It's no longer food, it's Darwinism.
Amazing. Yeah, they're kind of arguing because, and Dean's baiting him. Like, I think it starts with Sam saying, because he's looking for his laptop and he like kind of stops and he's like, look, I put up with a lot from you. And it kind of starts this whole argument. Apparently Dean's also leaving dirty socks in the sink. Look, just proving the point that he does the laundry, just badly apparently. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then Sam kind of makes the reference like, you know, well, what would you do if I like mess with the Impala? Which is weird to hear them reference the car as the Impala. Like, I don't think Sam ever calls the car baby though. That would be weird. Either.
It would be because it's not his baby.
No, I think it's his car. The car.
What's Dean's response to that? It's something like, it'll be the last thing you do or something like that. It's something really threatening.
Dramatic much. To be fair again, I think I probably said the same thing to my brother about some of my CDs, so, you know. Yeah. But they've got no excuse. They're nearly 30 here. Like, they're acting like teenagers. But I feel like that happens when you get back together with your siblings. Like, say you've been apart for a bit and you get back together. I mean, they've got no excuse because they're traveling together. But it's instant devolvement into like, I'm 15 again. Don't touch my things. Why are you eating my cheese? I put that cheese in the fridge. That's my cheese. Why are you putting it on your toast? That's not a specific example at all.
Not at all. With all of this being said, we've established that it's some sort of poetic justice, right, or punishment, right? What do you think Sam and Dean's punishments would be?
Oh, from this monster of the week.
From this one at this time?
Yes.
And then at the end of the series.
Oh.
I think at this time, the Impala being messed with is definitely Dean's, for sure.
Yeah.
Sam is a little bit more tricky. I don't know, like, his computer kind of is, I guess, because that's his lifeline kind of stuff. I don't know what his poetic... Maybe getting, like, drunk somewhere and, like, waking up... Maybe, I don't know.
I know what Dean's would be. This is literally just off the top of my head. So, you know how he calls the Impala baby? So I feel like this would have been the perfect opportunity to finally get what we all wanted and for them to personify baby. So to turn baby into a human. Except baby would be like a burly man in his like 60s because of how
He'd
old
be like
the
a
car is. Yeah. An only answer to baby. Absolutely, yes. That would be the poetic justice. For Sam.
And baby absolutely hates Dean.
Yes. Like, I can't believe you didn't, like, polish my hood, like, last week. You're supposed... That's a weekly task. I'm so sorry.
I had a drink in my mouth. You are not allowed to say that. It was, like, literally pulling in my teeth so I wouldn't spit it out.
Oh, it would be so perfect. Why did they never do that? They never turned baby into a person. Like, this is like lost chances.
Yes. This is our episode that we're writing. Right?
Yeah.
Somehow.
For Sam, I don't know. He's kind of like, doesn't really have any vices, you know? Like, Dean has vices to kind of give him some karma.
That's why I was thinking, like, Sam... I know we see Sam get drunk sometimes, but, like, he gets proper wasted, wakes up in, like, Canada or something. Or, like, Mexico. Mexico.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No shoes.
No shoes. And maybe, like, finds out, like, all the crap that he's ate. Because he's kind of a vegetarian, right?
Yeah, he eats... Well, not at this point. He's not eating as healthy. I think he kind of just... disapproves of the stuff they eat.
Yeah, I think when he can, he eats better. Yeah, it'd just be like a horrible food journey on the way home or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. Sort of to bring him down a few pegs. I feel like this monster of the week might feel does have a little bit of that superiority complex.
Whereas at the end of the show...
Yes.
I don't know what that... I don't even know if this would actually really apply because neither of them, they've learned a lot in the time that they've... I'm talking like outside of the last episode.
You're talking like end of maybe like 15, 18, you know, where the show actually ended. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's even hard to think about like why this would happen to them.
Yeah. I feel like Dean's already had his comic retribution by the end of the season.
Exactly.
Gosh. And then Sam, again, like, yeah, there's nothing really to karma.
Yeah.
They're in the black for karma. They're good.
I think so. Yeah. So maybe there isn't something. Yeah, maybe it's just some sort of like, some like bizarro AU kind of situation.
I feel like seeing themselves from the alternate universe was almost this. That was almost some kind of karmic retribution for something.
I think so too. So, again, this next line from Bobby, because he obviously interrupts him again, was the moment where I was like, oh yeah, this is the Bobby that we all know.
Did you take his computer?
It serves him right, but no.
Well, I didn't lose it, because I don't lose things.
Oh, that's right, yeah, because he's Mr. Perfect.
Okay. Why don't you just tell me what happened next?
It's very much like a dad scolding his teenagers.
Yeah. Did you take it? Did you, though? Okay.
Exactly. They start bickering again, and he has to interrupt again to kind of continue. story, because there's, of course, every story's in threes, so there is another victim. And again, it's back to Dean telling the story, which I think is like, why is Dean telling these stories?
Yeah, he clearly can't do it well, so sorry, Dean.
I'm thinking probably as a mixture of the two, because this one, out of all of the stories, is a little bit more straight to the point. So there's one more victim, and he was someone who tested on animals. Dean is not too happy about that.
No.
And he fits the pattern of being a dick.
Yeah.
Oh, so they say that they didn't see it happen, but they've managed to patch up what happened from other people's stories.
Yes.
So we see the guy that's, I guess, a scientist or researcher walking to his car, and he sees like a pocket watch in a grate, like it's going into a sewer. Why a pocket watch?
Like, no. Just don't put your hand in a sewer.
Of all the things to like stick your hand in a grate for.
Maybe the Monster of the Week knew something about him. Maybe he collects old pocket watches, or like always wanted like a Rolex or something, I don't know. So
Maybe.
Yeah. Also, has he never seen the movie or read the book? It, because like no way am I putting my hands in like a sewer grate.
No.
Nope.
No. It's gross.
There's clowns down there.
There's clowns down there. There's whatever. Everything's down there. And like we hear this kind of noise, and then his arm is very much it. His arm gets like ripped off.
Gets numbed.
And then so they break into a morgue to sort of look at the body to find out what happened. It's basically an arm and a leg. That's all that's left of him.
No, the pocket watch cost him an arm and a leg. That's the joke.
Oh.
Got it. Sorry.
Yes. Ha 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 ha. Oh dear. It's an urban legend because he's like Sam's looking at the body, and then he asks Dean for like a magnifying glass with the light on it.
Yeah.
And they see like a scale, a belly scale, and they establish that it's an alligator in the sewer.
Yeah, okay, fine. Like, I'm just going to accept that and just not say, how does Sam, by sight?
So again, this is a retelling of it though.
True.
So this is where I'm thinking Sam was sort of like making himself more intelligent in the retelling. They probably took the scale, or like took a picture of it or something, and like researched what it was.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, fine. I was just like, how is Sam recognising by sight an alligator scale? I would have no idea.
And so they decide to search the sewers separately. And so Dean is now taken over the retelling. Yeah. And he says, I didn't find anything, but I found something else.
Yeah.
And we see the Impala had the air let out of its tires.
Yes.
And conveniently, Sam's money clip with it, which is engraved.
Why does he have this? Like, I swear I would have, like, pegged Sam as a, like, Velcro wallet on a chain kind of guy. You know?
Yeah, me too.
Why has it got an engraved money clip?
Is it actually an engraved money clip? Or is this Dean's?
The only thing I could have, like, thought of that it was a present from Jess, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that seems like that kind of thing, but you're right, maybe Dean was embellishing, but...
I can imagine Sam with a money clip. I do. But not engraved.
Yeah, I reckon it's a present from Jess, calling it headcanon. Into the book. Book of headcanons.
And he storms into the room.
You think this is funny?
Depends. What?
The car.
What about the car?
You can't let the air out of the tires, you idiot. You're gonna bend the rims.
Whoa, wait a minute. I didn't go near your car.
And Sam starts searching his pockets, like, can I have that back? And again, this is how you can tell it's Dean, because he says, call it reparations.
Yes.
For emotional damage. And I'm just like, okay, Dean the professor.
He tells stories like I tell stories. Like, if I saw something that was like 4 foot tall, it's now 8 foot tall, and like I embellish my stories so much. I can't help it. You have to make yourself more interesting.
And then they start doing the stupid like reach for this kind of fight. So like Dean holds it out of Sam's reach, which I think is hilarious because I'm pretty sure Jared's arm reach is further than Jensen. And then again, I can only see this scene in the gag reel.
It always makes me think as well about that time that Jared hurt his shoulder. Do you know this story?
It's calling a memory, but I can't tell you from the top of my head.
So it was mentioned at a convention because there's a time when Jared's got his arm in a sling because he hurt his shoulder. But like the way he hurt his shoulder was that during conventions they were essentially wrestling in the hotel rooms, and that's how Jensen got rug burn on his face.
Wasn't Osric there too?
I think Osric was there too. Yeah, it was all very silly. I think Osric was the one who hurt his shoulder actually, but like obviously by accident. It just reminds me of that, like watching them wrestle, and it's like that. Well, that never changed. How long ago? Like the time between this and like seeing the gag reel with them just like messing around, and then the time of that story at the convention, you're like, they're just big children.
Yeah. I mean, literally in the season 15 gag reel, it's Alex has fallen on the floor, and then there's a dog pile.
Big children.
Like, I would hate to be Alex, to have like 300 and it got to be at least 180 pounds each men.
Had to be shady. Oh my god!
Like just
flattened.
Jump on top of you. Like, what is that? Yeah, no, that's. So yeah, basically what happens is that they it's such a weird fight because they basically wrestle, but Sam's on the back of him.
Yeah.
And like has him pinned, and it does look like they're about to fall off the bed, but it cuts. But I guess in the gag reel it shows them falling off.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, I so right stupid fighting because it is.
You've never fought. Did you never fight with your brother like this?
Oh yeah, no. I did. Yeah. We fell too. Like it's just like it's one thing being in that situation and one thing watching it.
Because at the time it feels fully justified. Like, yeah, I do need to get this thing back from you. Like, and then I'm sure if someone was filming and you watch it back, you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then you accidentally, like, someone falls off something, and again, you don't know what it's like to be the eldest sibling, but you kind of look at the younger sibling like, are you going to cry and go tell mum, like, that we were fighting? Because I should know better.
Yeah.
We're always good. My brother can pick me up now. We don't fight anymore. That's just self-preservation.
I'm gonna use that as the reason why I'm so heavy. My brother can't pick me up.
Exactly. Self-preservation. Gotta do it.
So before we see the fight really conclude, whether Sam got his money clipped back or not, Bobby interrupts again.
Yeah.
Bobby, in all his experience, is like, how can you not know what this is? And he reveals to them that it's a trickster.
Yes.
And Dean's like, I knew it. Kind of like, Sam's like, no, you didn't.
You didn't know. There's no way you knew.
What's kind of nice about like the rest of this episode is that you can tell it's now a reliable narration.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer in the past, it's happening now.
Mm-hmm. Bobby makes a reference here to say that the trickster's like a demigod, and he mentions two trickster gods, so Loki and Anansi, both of which feature in like Neil Gaiman's stories as well. Again, like I think Kripke. I don't know though, because this was written by John Shaban, but I really think that this idea is kind of taken from kind of like American Gods kind of style. Mm-hmm. Definitely feels like that. But yeah, the idea that kind of like gods walk among us. And what's super weird about this is like Bobby's quite casually talking about like a demigod. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's make the same logical leap that we did for angels. Okay. So if Loki and Anansi are actually real, then that means all the other gods are real too. If you follow the logic.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because in Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
The
Vanir. Yes. Again, kind of casually said. But I wonder if, okay, just to break this apart a little bit. Yeah, I wonder in the hunter community that they kind of know this, that like demigods exist and these kind of mythological beings, but they just are equating it to something supernatural, like pretending to be a god or with godlike powers to people.
So, okay, is Dean the only hunter that doesn't believe in angels, though? Because Sam does.
Did they ask Bobby about it yet? I don't know.
I don't think so. Just because of how many other sort of demigods and like gods of other cultures come into the show, especially later on, I find it hard to believe that every single hunter doesn't believe that angels could exist.
Yeah, it's a weird one. There must be like hunters who think they're experts on angels, right?
And also, you know, they always refer to texts, text of like the being that they are sort of facing.
Yeah.
And as much as there is like Christian textbooks, Bible research, whatever, there's the same amount on like Hinduism.
Yeah.
And all of the African gods for each country.
Yeah.
So, you know, that I feel like Bobby would be in the camp that angels exist. And I feel like he does say that before we see angels, but I can't tell you that for sure. Or like his reaction to when angels are around is not as like shocked.
Disbelieving. Yes, okay. Yeah. We have to look out for that. But I was just thinking, like, they casually, like, they talk about demigods and they're just like, yeah, I guess so. Let's go kill it. Like, not sort of like this is a big revelation. So, for some reason, I referred to the trickster as Loki in the rest of my notes, and I blame Marvel for that, but fine.
I refer to him as the janitor for most of this.
Yeah.
Because, as Bobby explained, he looks human, and he's like, well, who has been there for most of it? I have to say, the only time that we see the janitor, like, properly was in the beginning. So the fact that they both look at each other and figure out that it's the janitor is that because they're both unreliable narrators and don't say, like, who they saw? Or is it just the structure of or is the janitor actually in the background of these shots and you just don't see him?
Yeah, maybe they should have done that. They should have had him like surreptitiously in the background. Maybe he is. I need to get back and watch it to see. But
me too. Because it's not obvious that I mean, obviously it is obvious because he's named. Like the actor is named in the episode. If you don't know who he is, then it makes sense. But because he's not in the story with the alligator. He's not in the story with the aliens.
No. But watching it now, it does kind of remind me, I was watching an episode of Criminal Minds and DJ Coles was in it and I was like, oh, I wonder who the murderer is. Like, you know, it's like... it's kind of that feeling now watching it where you're like, oh, okay, I recognise this actor, so they must be integral to the story.
Exactly. So I am wondering if there's like a deleted scene or something, or if he is in the background and you just don't notice it because of like everything else that's going on.
That would have been good to have him sweeping in the background, like every shot.
So we cut to the janitor and he's in like what I called a pleasure den because it's like
love that.
It's very much just like it's got like 70s porn music playing in the background.
Yeah.
There's like a red velvet seat that he's in, and he's looking through like I wouldn't want to say like magazines because it's sort of like pullouts because it's sort of like one sheet of like a story.
Yeah,
I don't know what that's called.
It's the Weekly World News. Like it's that's an actual publication that prints all kind of weird stories and like conspiracy theories and stuff.
Okay. And then he's petting this dog, which this is where I'm wondering if like there's a deleted scene because I'm thinking that dog was probably one of the test subjects.
Maybe. I think it would have been funnier because we made the reference to Loki. If the dog had like a tag or something that said on it like Fenrir, you know, the wolf. Yeah. Like as that little Jack Russell, I kind of could have loved that. But yeah, you're probably right. He probably belongs to the scientist.
And he says like, "Oh, I'm hungry. Let's go see what I have." And he like turns around and there's this spread of like, it's like a what's the word? The cheese board, but like vertical.
Oh, I was gonna say a smorgasbord. A smorgasbord. Sorry.
It's a charcuterie.
Oh. Charcuterie?
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's how you say it.
However you say it. But it was big. It got big over the pandemic. Like, everybody was doing it. But it's like, it's got like a cake tier, and it's got
it's afternoon tea. It's British afternoon tea, but bigger.
Yeah, basically. Which, when I was seeing those like grapes and stuff, I was like, don't let the dog near it, don't let the dog near it. there's fruits, there's like cake slices, chocolate, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And then he's sort of like, the trickster says, oh, something's missing, and he materializes two scantily clad ladies.
Yes. Again.
And, it's so gross. Like, I don't like seeing people put other people's fingers in their mouth. Because he like dips his finger in like whipped cream and like puts it in it. And it's even funnier because I think, again, they purposely cast much taller women than he is.
Yeah.
So it looks very strange for him to like reach up and like put I just don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't like seeing it. Like, you can do it. I have no problem with you doing that, but like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
Yep. He's where I don't know why I made this point. I wrote it down. He's wearing like a white tank top and like red silk like boxer shorts.
Yes.
And it made me think of like Jim Shortstein. It's just the red shorts. And then that made me think of the like passing out ceremony they had for those shorts at convention. And I feel like these deserve the same treatment. So if the cast are ever listening to this, can you please pride of place somewhere? Those red silk boxer shorts from this. It's yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Richard Spite still had it.
Yeah, I wonder.
Because he loves this show. Like, clearly he loves this show.
Yeah, but I feel like this early you wouldn't think about stealing stuff yet. Like, I feel like you have to be on a show for like a few seasons to think like, yeah, I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
Maybe they're in some sort of like storage place somewhere on like the sound stage of Supernatural.
You know they are somewhere. They must be.
Yeah.
They keep everything. Okay. So we see Sam and Dean, and they're going into the hall where all this has happened, and the janitor is letting them in again, and he's boasting about like having lots of sex the previous night.
Sorry, I'm dragging a little ass today, boys. Had quite the night last night. Lots of sex. Did you catch my drift? Yeah, hard not to.
Then Sam says like, oh no. Like, he literally says it like this, like, oh no, I forgot something outside. Like, it's so unconvincing.
I love when actors play bad acting.
Yeah.
It's just great.
So he pretends to go outside, but he actually goes down to the basement while Dean goes off with the janitor to go check out his locker and stuff. And he finds a copy of the Weekly World News that has all the stories in from the things that have been happening.
Oh, so one thing to mention as well, before all of the like food scenes, the janitor is looking at one final one and decides that this would be a good thing for his next prank or trick, which is a chainsaw wielding madman maniac. I think's the title of the article.
Mm-hmm. Back outside, like, Sam and Dean meet up.
Just because he reads the Weekly World News doesn't mean he's our guy. I mean, you read it too.
Which I think is such a little insight into Dean's world. Like,
Yeah.
Do you think he reads the Weekly World News to try and find hunts? Like,
Yes.
That makes sense. But also, it's extremely, again, unreliable. We said the word unreliable so much in this episode. And Sam's saying that they need some, like, hard proof or whatever, and they're fighting back and forth. And we see in the window that the trickster is watching them have this argument, and they're shouting pretty loudly. The thing that we always say is should be happening is happening here.
Exactly. Which should have thrown suspicion, but I was like, this is kind of a weird scene.
No,
like,
I knew. Because I swear Sam turns and looks at the trickster in the window like it's being really unsubtle, and I was like, oh, they're doing a bit.
I think so too, but I just kind of didn't put it together. So actually, maybe Bobby did say the sweet tooth thing then, because it is mentioned here.
So they decide through shouting very loudly that Sam is going to go to the janitor's apartment and Dean's going to stay here because they can't go with each other. They're fighting too much. And then it kind of cuts to night. Like, so Dean was waiting outside that building for like a really long time.
I mean, so we don't know what time they'd gone to the building. Like, they could have gone like end of the day.
Guess so, but it seems like significant time has passed. Dean looks really worried about Sam, and like the thing is, he's got like almost like tears in his eyes. Like, screw this, I'm going. Like, I'm not waiting any longer. Who's he acting for? Because
I think he's acting for the janitor at this point. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, okay.
Because we know that the real drama queen is Dean. Come on.
I mean, that's true. For some reason, he looks at the stained glass window that's in this hall before he goes in, which is just funny for reasons. Because of the imagery in the stained glass window, it's funny.
I didn't actually notice that. What's the imagery?
So just to give you a clue, the stained glass window is called Light of the World, and it's got like a big old cross on it. But okay. I just like why is that in a university building? It looks like a church as he's walking into it. Oh,
I see, yeah. Okay.
Absolutely why, though?
Absolutely why.
Absolutely why.
That's funny. So Dean's searching the empty halls, and he hears sort of like muted voices, a bit of music, and he realizes it's coming from like the auditorium / stage area. Maybe it could just be a really big classroom too.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. But why is this in a halls?
I don't know. College buildings are weird.
Yeah,
like, there was a building at my university where if you walked in one door, so you were on the ground floor and you walked in one door, if you carried on around the hallway, you would come out on the first floor. I never realised how it worked. There were no stairs involved. I think it was just a slope somehow, but you would come out on a different floor you entered.
I think what we're equating a halls to may not be the same thing. Like, they may call it Crawford Hall because of something rather than it being like a residential like house.
Oh yeah, we should probably explain that for our American listeners. Like, so when you go to university, where you stay, it's not called dormitories, they're generally called halls of residence. So like you would stay in Windsor Hall or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we're putting on our understanding of what it would be rather than what it actually is.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like he opens the door and there's like, again, it's very 60s, like 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
There's like spinning lights and Barry White. I feel like it's Barry White. It may not be. I'm not sure.
I think it's Barry White. I wrote down Barry White. The most early 2000s chic thing that you could possibly have, a lava lamp.
Yeah, a lava lamp. And these two, again, scantily clad ladies in like black and red lace. And they're beckoning Dean to come up.
We've been waiting for you, Dean.
You guys aren't real.
For someone who's so like confident with women, he gets very nervous when they come onto him like this.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know what to do with myself here. Like, he's supposed to be acting, but it doesn't look like it. Like,
it's very awkward. I kind of liked it because it was kind of awkward in a almost, I guess, I don't know. You're right. I think with Dean, like, he's generally, when he's seeking out women, he's in control of that situation, right?
Yes.
Whereas this is very much turntables. And yeah, maybe he hasn't come across that so much before. Though I feel like Cassie was fairly assertive.
Yeah, but then if you think about like how they first met, he was kind of like this too. That's
true.
So the janitor / trickster is actually in the audience, which begs the question: had Dean said yes and like not denied these two girls, gone up on stage, would he have just sat there and watched it? I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is yes.
I mean,
I think this trickster is a little. Well, you can tell he's definitely a pervert.
A voyeur, yes, for sure. I think if that had happened, that would have been on said VHS tape in like season 14 or whenever it was.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think so.
Sorry, I got so distracted by that. I was like, so. Because
stick around,
yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Would he have left? No, because he's a demigod, right? And what do demigods do? Watch people. The trickster knows who they are. Like, he knows who they are and what they've done.
I know what you and your brother do. I've been around a while.
And he says he actually likes the Winchesters. He says something along the lines of like, Sam was right. You shouldn't have come here alone.
Yeah.
And Dean reveals, well, I didn't. And Sam and Bobby conveniently show up as he says this line.
Yeah, because like Dean's kind of saying to him that he kind of likes him too, but he can't let him continue killing people, which I feel like Dean comes across this a fair few times in the series where he kind of vibes with the monster of the week, but it's like, yeah, sorry, I gotta kill you. And this is definitely happening here. I feel like they could have just got the trickster to move on though. Maybe that's what they were going for here, actually. I think. A little bit of, like, scare tactics.
Yeah, I think so, too. Because, like, I'm just trying to think. Out of all the things that they've hunted, the trickster's the only thing that has, like, it's killed two... Well, okay. It's killed one person on purpose. I think the professor was an accident.
Yeah.
Because he opened the window and he fell out. The frat boy didn't die.
No, but he was very much traumatized. I think I get where they're coming from because they're saying that the trickster's hurting people, whether it's resulting in death or not. Like,
right.
It's again like causing havoc too. So, but I don't know. It's not.
But he's also not targeting quote unquote innocent people.
Yeah, but they're like the karmic retribution is kind of very extreme as well, for like the supposed crimes they committed. So yeah, it's a tough one because I was gonna say it's very Old Testament. But so like I think Dean kind of likes his personality, I guess, because he's making the same jokes that Dean makes.
Yes, and also this is when the face off.
Oh
happens.
Yes. Oh yes.
Because he says
that fight you guys had outside, that was a trick?
And like the trickster's impressed face, and then Dean's like, yeah, I tricked you face. It's pretty great.
Love that. As they kind of reveal themselves, so Dean has a big stake too. Bobby and Sam have stakes, and they've kind of come in the separate doors at the top of the auditorium. I think the trickster says, "You want to see a real trick?" And like, does he click his fingers?
I think so.
But I may just be making it up because I thought it happened. Anyway, the chainsaw guy from the Weekly World News appears behind Sam, and they start fighting. Dean goes to stab the trickster, and one of the women from the stage like grabs his arm and like hurls him, launches him like a little pocket rocket, like straight onto the bed. And he ends up fighting those two women who are like super strong now. What is it about like Dean fighting like super strong women? This has happened a lot. It always seems like Sam takes on the like guys, and then Dean always ends up fighting the like super strong women.
I wonder if it's like to make up for all his sexist like hits, like hit on women in bars and stuff. Like that's his karma.
I think that's what the show was trying to do. I think you're right. I think all the sexist remarks that Dean makes is like they kind of try to make up for it by having a woman punch him in the face every now and then. Yeah. I never even thought of that before. Oh my gosh. This show.
You know what? It probably wasn't even on purpose. They probably just thought it would be funny.
Yeah. Or maybe literally it's because like the height difference between Jared and like some of the women on the show would be too difficult to do stunts for. Like I can see that being the reason anyway. So they keep fighting. The chainsaw guy at one point like cuts Bobby's steak in half, which is pretty cool. I like that. And then Sam and Dean kind of do a psychic link. I think Dean like nods at Sam because they're both kind of down on the ground, and Sam throws the stake at Dean, and he kind of uses the momentum to push it through the trickster's chest. Yeah. His face as he's like stabbing the trickster, the lip quiver.
I didn't notice that. I did not notice that.
If you know your whole like fascination with bloodlust, that scene, very that vibes. Like,
wow,
he's really like
kind of regret.
Yeah, putting the effort in. There's very heavy top lip quivering going on. Go back and watch that. It's good face acting.
Well, I gotta say, he had style.
What's interesting about Supernatural is like when you compare it to Buffy. So they just staked this guy, very Buffy-esque style, although the stakes are bigger. But they're just left with like a dead body at the end. Like they don't dust. They literally just left with like a dead guy that looks human. So
and that's exactly what happens in this next scene. Bobby's like, we need to go before the police turn up, and there's a body in there. But then they have like a heart-to-heart almost.
Over the car, as usual.
Over the car, yeah.
Look, Dean, I just want to say that I'm,
Hey. Me too.
And then Bobby comes back. Bobby's gone into the car. He stands back out of the car and says,
You guys are breaking my heart. Could we please just leave?
And then as they drive off, we go back to the auditorium and we see the janitor like illusion away, like how he made illusions come up. He illusions away and he's there and he takes a bite out of a chocolate bar and then that's it.
I love it. I love that ending. I love that ending so much. Because I feel like...
It's like a good soprano ending.
A good soprano ending. I love that. Yeah. I mean, I love it because, like, I feel like they knew people were going to enjoy this episode. So, like, to leave it on that was like, oh, maybe you could have more of this if you keep watching the show, kind of thing.
And also, like, I feel like had they not have done that, people would have been like, he's a trickster. Wouldn't he have illusioned something?
It would have been a plot hole. Yeah, for sure. And, like, also, it's been kind of a funny episode. So, like, to end it on, like, oh, they just murdered a dude. Let's go. Like, it's a bit weird. Like, and, like, I feel like people would like the trickster character as well. Like, would feel bad if he just died.
Which brings to question how much, because this is again is an episode supervised by Kripke. How much thought did he put into possibly having this character come back?
Yeah, I don't know, because I think leaving it open like that is kind of like you have the option then, but if they had never brought him back, that would have made sense too.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I think you kind of get your cake and eat it.
And also, I think they did this as well to show that while Sam and Dean are very good hunters, they cannot kill a god.
Oh.
Because they didn't manage to kill the thing in Scarecrow.
No.
They just sort of stopped them from doing the ritual. Maybe they kind of didn't want to get into the territory of god killing.
Yeah, I think
because they're still humans.
They're giving them a limit to their power at this point. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Maybe almost as a comparison for what happens to Sam later on when things start going awry. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I like that. And also, yeah, it wouldn't make sense them to kill a demigod at this point in their lives to be able to do that.
Exactly. This is too much of a power up.
Yeah, definitely. No, I really like this episode. I think it's a good introduction to the trickster. I think it's a really fun episode to have after Born Under a Bad Sign, which was a heavy old episode.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
whiplash, though, the emotional whiplash watching this. Fine.
Like with all the problems, with all the identified problems with it, it was still overall a very enjoyable experience.
I agree, and I feel like this established a lot of tropes that people really carried through to their characters in not just how they're written later on, but also into like fanon territory. Like there's a lot of characterization here that I recognize from like fan fiction or like how people talk about the characters later on.
Definitely. And like I said at the beginning, this is definitely when Bobby, like this version of Bobby is the one that I recognize.
Yes.
For the longest. I mean, there is, again, this evolution as he sees Sam and Dean, like, mature. He's not so parental.
Yeah.
But he's still there for them when they need him.
Yeah.
This is what is kind of establishing. And like you said, he's the replacement for John, but like a good replacement.
Exactly. I think this episode is when you start to see Bobby as a father figure rather than just an experienced hunter they go to for advice. I think that started a little bit in the last episode, but I think it's really solidified here.
Definitely. So, the big spoiler for this.
The elephant in the room, like it
the
is.
Elephant in the room is that this trickster is actually Gabriel.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if it is finger clicking,
yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I need to go back and watch it. Maybe I just imagined the finger clicking. Like,
I hope it is, because that essentially establishes angel powers and demon powers, because I don't think clicking has been a thing.
No, I don't think so either. I don't know if it started with Crowley though, rather than Gabriel. I don't know. I can't think of when the finger clicking started. I need to find out if it was this episode. Yeah, or if I just imagined it. So, okay. Talk about the big meta. This begs the question. Did Gabriel know here who Sam and Dean were? Or do you think that him meeting them like this was purely coincidence?
No, I think he knew who they were, because he says he knows who they are and that he likes them.
Okay.
So, right. Gabriel is one of the, like, archangels, right?
Yeah.
So, is he there to scout them out? To meet them before everything's put in motion?
Yes, but no. Okay, so hear me out. Because Gabriel went rogue. Like, he left.
Yes.
He doesn't want anything to do with the big plan. He's kind of like the angel version of Meg at this point. Like, you know, he's out for himself, kind of looking after his own interests, doesn't really care. But also, we find out later that he is kind of invested though, right? Because it's his family that's involved in the big plan. So I feel like this episode, if you go back and watch it knowing that, could be seen as Gabriel scouting out how the end is going to go down. And think how easy it was for him to get them to kind of turn on each other a little bit in this episode.
And then his realization that it was an act is kind of interesting too.
Exactly. Once he realizes that he's been played and they weren't actually arguing or like really fighting anymore, that they'd managed to unite against him as like the bad guy of the episode, kind of is telling to later interactions that they have with him. Because I feel like this is it was almost like a little mini test. Right?
Yes. And if you look at the Old Testament, as you said earlier in the episode, what is that but a bunch of tests for people? Like,
the stories from the show are almost like, the thing is, the alien one kind of stands out because that wasn't a choice, but the other two people had a choice between doing things. The professor didn't have to take that girl into his office, and the guy didn't have to try and get that watch out the sewer. So if you kind of took out the alien ones, there's kind of an anomaly there. Like, it's almost like your choices have consequences. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So it's so interesting to go back and watch this, like knowing the truth. But I think this is where he really started taking interest in them, because I think once Gabriel kind of realized that it wasn't so easy to get the brothers to turn on each other, I think he became a bit more concerned about how everything was going to play out. Because what we kind of established is that Gabriel basically came to Earth and was like partying till the end, right? Like, he knew when the end times was going to be, so like have as much fun as you can while you get there. But it was always going to happen, and he kind of wanted that to just carry out how it was going to go. And then to see the main actors in that not acting how they should be must have been concerning. So I guess as well, like the next episode where he turns up makes so much sense. Like from that episode to this episode, it's I love the big meta,
especially in places like this, because is it also an interesting choice to make so obviously they left it open-ended to possibly bring him back or to like show that they can't kill gods. There's no way to really know which one they were going with, but to decide that this trickster, which they then call Loki, to then be Gabriel, again, was that because of fan reception of his character and the actor that they wanted to keep him?
Yeah.
Or was it, or are they saying that in Norse mythology, Loki was always Gabriel?
Yes, I think that's it. I think that's what that final one is. I think what it finally gets revealed as is that, yes, Gabriel was always Loki, essentially. Or at least pretending to be him. Maybe he killed off Loki and replaced it. Who knows? But the thing is about leaving him alive at the end is I feel like what they were trying to do is create kind of a Q character, you know, as in like John Delancey in Star Trek. So you create a character that has kind of godlike powers and can appear at any point to kind of cause chaos and gives you a good excuse to do a fun episode. That's a very easy way to do that kind of thing, to kind of have a plausible excuse for it happening. And that's definitely how they use a trickster in later series. It disappears, causes some havoc, and leaves again, just like Q. I think they took it one step further when they kind of decided that their Q character was going to be like really very integral to the story, because they never really did that in Star Trek. Like Q was still always on the periphery because his powers were, because he was so powerful. If they had included him into the story, he would have been too like Deus Ex Machina, like you know, with the Borg and stuff. So
whereas with Gabriel, it's established that the other archangels are actually stronger than he is. Yeah, and he is already so strong.
Exactly. So it kind of made sense at that point to kind of make that reveal, because it wouldn't be giving them someone who was like massively overpowered in the story that was like on their side or even like ambivalent. Yeah, I kind of like it. But yeah, I never really saw until just now the actual, like, yeah, he's cute. They wrote cute. Like, there's so many parallels between Star Trek and Supernatural. Like, the trickster is cute. Yeah. I love it so much. Just can't with this. But yeah, I can't wait till he shows up again. I know when it is, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more at that point also.
Undoubtedly.
Indubitably. Okay.
What a silly way to end a silly episode. With that also being said, this episode was before a month break. So this was aired in February 15th.
Yeah.
The next episode was March 15th. So when they came back, episode 16, Roadkill, which is Rael Tucker doing this one.
Yep.
And it's got the woman who plays Lucifer's mother.
Oh yeah, Trisha Helfer. She's also played number 6 in Battlestar Galactica, another really good TV show that Mark Sheppard is also in.
I mean, you throw a stone at any TV show, Mark Sheppard has been in it.
Yeah, he has. He has. He's been in everything. So yeah, that was our spiel at the end of the episode. If you'd like to engage with us more on this, feel free to comment on any of our podcasts or send us a message on our social media. We're on Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, and we are Escaping Purgatory Pod or Escaping Purgatory Podcast on all of those. The links are in the description. Our art is by the Pixel Agora on Tumblr. Please check out our Redbubble as well if you'd like to buy that design. And yeah, we'll see you on the internet.
So again, this week, we got tricked. We thought there was a rest stop here, and there was not. It was just a dirty puddle of water.
Well, at least I found this like candy bar. It's all good. Having a good day.
Good. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.